and we are now situated. Very good. So I'm going through like group withdrawals because I didn't see everybody for a week. It's been rough,
I hear you. It's
right?
I was almost going to do it anyways last week when I was at my daughter's and my granddaughter's, but um, yeah, I decided. Teresa had a counseling session that she did like half an hour before, and we, we're only there for really 3 days,
Right.
and we drove like first day 12 hours there, 3 days there, 12 hours back.
Wow, that is a lot of driving.
It's a lot of driving.
Do you share it? Are you a sharer?
Pictures.
No, driving.
You know what? My lovely wife drove the whole way there and the whole way back.
Did she?
We took her vehicle because I still have a rental, and my rental is supposed to have winter tires and it didn't.
Oh,
So, anyways, yeah, so it was an issue, but anyways, but she has a older SUV and it was fine. And it wasn't much snow. The weather is beautiful. Like it was just so beautiful, right? So,
oh, good, good. That's
yeah,
good. What's it like now? It's 6 degrees here.
I think where we're at now, it's overcast today, but we had a few days that were like 20, 15 to 20 degrees.
Nice.
And I think in Whitecourt when we were there, we've not seen yet the aurora borealis. We haven't seen
Oh,
it yet, but
yeah.
our daughter shared pictures so beautiful, um, and but it was like beautiful up there. It was I think we were up there. It was like +5 or 6. I think the last day we left, it went down like at night to -10. But
That's
this is
awesome.
like this is north. Like this is in like Hudson Bay area,
Right,
pretty north.
right. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Very good.
Yep.
Fills your heart, right?
You know what? Yeah. Our as we get older, everybody else is younger, but as we get older, mature, um, we I think for me, I appreciate the same things. Like I always appreciated family, but it's different, right?
Right. I agree.
It's we I just had a friend. I'm trying to see if anybody's on. There's 2 viewers, I think now, but there we go. We
Hello.
got Linda and Deborah.
All right. Woo woo.
Yeah, we're just doing our opening chat. Yeah, I had some sad news on Sunday. A friend, very good friends of mine, a bass player who used to play bass with me, a little bit older than me, has had like just some really bad health issues. And Sunday, him and his wife were out driving, and he had a heart attack while he was driving.
Oh
Foot went on
no.
the gas pedal, and
Jeez.
smashed the car. And the wife's okay; they're in Vancouver Hospital, and he's got like a pacemaker. I think he has starting a Parkinson. His wife's had cancer, and he died, but they revived him, and and his daughter got a hold of me, and just had very good friends and family, and he's alive, but now he needs like two metal pins in his back, and then he needs other surgery on his neck. He's probably, I'd say, 70ish.
Wow.
So just it, yeah, just one of those things where again, and me and Mom were talking today. I brought her coffee earlier, and it's just like, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I
That's
mean,
right.
we don't know, right? So you kind of, seize the day. Make sure if you love somebody, you tell them.
Yep.
You know, look at the bright side of life, even though there's a lot of stuff. We don't want to be um, in denial about our hard stuff, but
Right.
you don't want to live in that mindset, which we're going to talk about. You don't want to live in that mindset. You want to actually, like when I have tough days at work because I've got customers probably like you that are customers are just so self-centered, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
And then like I always want to communicate truthfully, honestly, but I want to do respectfully.
Right.
But I can't let that control the narrative of my day.
Right.
Else I'll be in trouble.
That's exactly right. And you have to just, one of the things that I used to do when I used to waitress, and I still do the same thing, not when I'm wellness coaching because my members are fabulous, but when I'm doing my other job where I'm on the phone all the time, I always think in 5 minutes this is going to be over. And when I was waitressing, my dad used to say to me, just remember they're there for one meal. You never have to see them again. And that really helped me realize that, it's a fast lunch today, mister. We're getting you in and out.
Yeah.
And if I tried to kill them with kindness, if you will, I generally got a bigger tip and quite often an apology because they would realize they're dumping their attitude on me and I didn't deserve it. And so, and then of course, I'd be like, oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah. Here's the best story because again, my involvement in the food service industry for years. I
Yep.
was in Penticton. I can't remember, I've been there for a little bit, but I was a sous chef. I wasn't the chef at this place called Fireside Dining Lounge, and in it, it's kind of it was a hotel and some different parts. So this was kind of fine dining at night, but the daytime kind of your typical breakfast. Sunday was brunch, right?
Yep.
So we always had this older guy come in, and he was picky. He was not mean, but picky. Can you cut the crust off my sandwich? Can you
Yep.
make sure my soup's not too hot?
Yep.
So when they would come in, when he'd come in, all of the waitresses, the younger ones, would say, "I don't want him. You take him. I don't." And then he would sometimes with older people, they didn't tip a lot, right?
Yep.
So this one Scottish lady, a little bit older, um, said, "I'll take care of it. It's fine," and just good attitude, right?
Yep.
So what? So the first Christmas there, I think it was the first year I was there. I was there 3 years. Um, Christmas came and she served him, and I don't know how much it was back then. This is like 30 some years ago. Maybe maybe the meal was $5 and he gave a quarter. I don't know. I don't remember. It was changed. It was
Yep.
changed, right?
Yep.
Back then, everything was changed. And so at Christmas, or just before Christmas, he's in there, and her name was Sandy, and he gives her a Christmas card. He goes, "You've been really kind." I think he was 80
Mm.
and something like that. But the other girls didn't know that because you know what they do? They would look, they would pre-qualify the person based on what the tip would be.
Yep.
Bad.
Yep.
So she gets a Christmas card from him. This is like 30 some years ago. $1,000 check.
Holy mama. Wow.
He was a retired architect, and he was picky, but like never rude. Like I knew him. I didn't know what he did. I just knew him as a customer, right?
Sure.
And like the soup, he'd say, "Can you put an ice cube in because it'd be too hot for me?" Like
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yep.
Thousand. So you know what the girls did after that? They all wanted to serve him.
Oh
You know
my
what?
gosh.
He said, "Nope, Sandy's
Yep.
great."
Yep.
And so the live and learn. There's an old saying, I don't know where it's from, but it says, "Be careful like how you treat people because you may be entertaining angels," type of thing, right? You don't
Right.
know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and it's this attitude of um, um, you know, if somebody's cruel and all that, then we have a right to kind of not deal with that.
Yep.
But it's why we're kind to the poor. We try to do we try to go around and be positive for everybody, right?
Exactly right. And you never know. It's funny because um once upon a time we used to have a general manager at this like as a factory I worked at. And we had this general manager and he was a real jerk. And he had a company car and they ended up letting him go and he had to give the car back and somebody was giving him a ride and I remember somebody saying, oh, he was such a butthead, I'm gonna say, wasn't the word. Why don't you just make him call a cab? And then the guy, he turned around and he goes, because I never know when I might need a job reference or he might be my interviewer. Like you just never know. And you see that in real life all the time
Yeah,
where the person who is bullied ends up interviewing the guy that bullied him or you know what I mean? Whatever. Karma is real.
yeah. And it's funny you said that because when I worked for Cisco Food Services, I'd go to hotels. I still go to hotels now with coffee, but I'm friendly to the doorman. I'm friendly to the
Mm.
dishwasher. I'm friendly to the server because you don't know who's going to be making decisions next time. Exactly what you're saying, right?
Yep.
Funny last little story. So do you know Bono from the band U2, I assume?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. He might be famous a little bit, I'm not sure, right? There's a story from a few years ago. He was in Vancouver, did a show, and the so whatever night was, Thursday night, and then Friday, and then Saturday he was playing in Calgary. So him and his manager, for whatever reasons, were in West Vancouver, pouring rain out, walking down the road. So this young guy and his girlfriend see these two people. I don't know if they were hitchhiking or not. I think they were hitchhiking. And it was late. It was like dark, wasn't late at night. And so, and this was in the paper and was on TV and everything, right?
Yeah.
So the young man and girl drive by, and the young man says, like, yeah, let's go pick them up. That's like, it's really raining bad out there.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend's like, forget it. They could be like murderers, whatever, right? Which is makes sense, right?
Oh,
And he goes, no,
valid.
let's go back. So, and he was a junior hockey player. So he played for a junior team out in Vancouver. I think it was out of Calgary, Red Deer with it, right?
Okay.
And so they go back and pick it up, and it's Bono and his manager
That's
that were walking on this, not a highway, but like kind of, well, maybe a secondary highway.
Yep.
So they bring him to the hotel they were going to, and Bono says, "We're playing in Calgary tomorrow night, so to thank you, we want to fly you there
Ooh.
and VIP passes." So it happens, right? So on the news that night, like I read it probably on social media somewhere, but on the news the night he's in, U2's playing in Calgary, he actually, the man's in the front row, whatever, however was there, and he told the story. He goes, I just want to tell the story of this kindness this guy showed. Didn't know who we are. It's dark, pouring rain out.
Yeah.
Like riding in the car with Bono. That's one of my dreams.
Is it? There you go.
It is. It is. So before we go, I'm going to ask you, do you have questions for me?
I do, but do you have questions for me?
Yes. Okay. I'm just making this up as we go.
Okay, well, we'll
So,
just let you ask questions this time.
okay.
All right.
If you
Uh-oh.
can have an evening with a meal and a talking with anybody, past, present, who would you want to have a meal and hang out with and pick their brains?
My adopted dad.
Okay.
Yeah, who's deceased for
Yeah.
25 years, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Wow, 30 years. Yeah, wow. And it's interesting. So he was in the British Navy. I don't know if you even know this. So my parents, um my dad got recruited by Dow Canada. He was a chemical engineer in England. My mom had like a grade 6 education. And then she worked in, I'm going to say the cotton mill, something like
Okay.
that. And then he got recruited by Dow. They moved him over to Sarnia. And then they had the two boys that were born in England. They're the homegrown children, I like to call them. And then they adopted me because my dad wanted a girl. That's it. That's why. He didn't want a chance, my mom having a boy. And back in those days, they picked me out of a book, literally. I still have the pictures. They went through, and it was children from all over. I was in Ottawa, as you know, and that's how I came to be. But like in the family, and it was December right before I turned 2 years old. So I was in like another foster home for that whole time. But when we were growing up, my dad was very strict, but he was also um very eyes wide open about people, about government, about a lot of different things. So I've thought of him a lot in the last 4 years, particularly since COVID and the government and the trucker convoy and just all different things going on in the world. And I've often thought, I wonder what he would think about that. I wonder if he would fall for that. I wonder if he would believe that. I wonder. So I have literally it's such a great question because I have a big list of things that I would like to pick his brain. Do you know what I mean? And just even like he'd never met Nicole. So of course I'd want to share all that. But I honestly believe, and this is just my personal beliefs, that he already knows all that. Right? Like I believe he's still with me in essence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to pick his brain and just be like, just without getting into, because I don't have my tinfoil hat with me right now. Without getting into it, I have a lot of questions. So yeah, that I don't really get I don't get dazzled by famous people. There's not anybody really that like, I don't know, because I always just sort of had the perspective that they're doing a job. Do you know what I mean? My job is a wellness coach, their job is an actor or a musician or whatever. So I think, yeah, that's who it would be. What would it be for you?
Well, before that, so here's an interesting thing. So
Sure.
I'm in more and more. I love the power of story, and
Mhm.
I love information, not as assumption, but in a way, I'm going to use a word. You can tell me if the word fits or not.
Yep,
So in a way, because there's an inquiry thing like that, would it be fair to say that is he like a hero to you?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely.
So when we talk about triggering a little bit, like on kind of a different way,
Yep.
it's really important when we can lean on those things, like because like you've shared the story a little bit here, but losing him 30 years ago is tough.
Yep.
There's always questions and not resentment, but miss opportunity, right?
Yep.
And I think like it's one of those things. I was counseling a young man, and just going through some marital stuff. And one of the things I said was, in a real messy separation stuff, I said, "So, do you remember?" He's got 4 or 5 children. Do you remember your first child being born and being there in the hospital? And this, and it could be different for guys and girls. Woman giving birth would still love the kids, but for me, there was this thing about like I felt walking down the hall with Emily, my eldest. I, I thought everything kind of like the hallway got so small and I was so big,
Yeah.
like I knew where I was walking, but it was something like almost out of body in a way, right?
Right.
And so I remember mentioning that, and I do this with some people that I help, is in the midst of just difficult health. It could be finances, it could be lots relational, right? Is you still want to walk through that, not in denial, but you need if we are honestly to look back and write pinnacle points in our life,
Yeah.
and they could be inquisitive. Like that was really sad, but what you just answered, right?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, before we go on, answer your question, if I can have dinner and just an evening of talking with anybody,
Hmm.
oh my word, it wouldn't be Bono, even though I'd be inquisitive with that.
Yep.
Um, it would, I don't know. That's such a hard question because there's so many different angles I would think about. So I love food. I'm a foodie, as you probably know. Have you heard of a
I've
fellow
heard
named
that.
Anthony? Have you heard of Anthony Bourdain?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So commit suicide a few years back. So Teresa and I got to see him
Very good.
not in concert, but see him live. And we had VIP passes, so we saw him in the back. We had pictures, pretty cool, right?
Yep.
But I just had so much from coming from the food industry and his first book, Confidential Kitchen, whatever it's called. There was just rawness, but honesty. And here's a guy that was dealing with his own demons and stuff. And it's yeah, I'd be sad. Like for me, like so no, it wouldn't be sad to be with him. Be first of all, be with him in like one of his shows, like, hey, let's talk about this food. This is pretty good. What about whatever? But
Mm.
then to be able to talk to him, say, so tell me, like, tell me what's going on. Like, you're famous. He
Mm.
wasn't a chef first, he was a cook.
Okay.
And he was a writer, a very talented writer. So yeah, so somebody like that, I'm just inquisitive. I'd love to know something about history.
Mm.
I don't know where I'd pick out in history. People like Michelangelo
Oh,
would
neat.
be interesting. So, anyways, enough about that.
I love that. Very.
Last thing, last question.
Yep.
You know, you're leaving, and you're in prison. You're going to electric chair. No, we don't do that. If you can have anything as a last meal, what are you going to eat besides ice cream with it?
Okay. So I wouldn't care about the ice cream, but there'd probably be chips involved. Oh, okay. Wait. So hold on. Um, I'm leaning towards either lasagna or steak from the keg with mushrooms and onions, baked potatoes, cheese and onions on that as well. And since I'm dying anyways, add some bacon and then I'll have
There-
chips for dessert.
So here, for those that are live with us, looks like there's 5 of us, 6 of us. So do this. Put those 2 questions up if we can, or if you remember.
Yeah.
The last meal on Earth. What do you want? Could be anything. And if you had a chance to have dinner and just some time alone with somebody, pick their brains, whatever, who would it be?
Okay. I got it.
So
I'll do that after.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, food wise, I'm just an ice cream. Like I'm working hard on my health, and we don't use the word cheat anymore. But if I was going to divulge,
Good.
I would do ice cream. And Teresa and I have this. We found this favorite ice cream from Chapman's. I don't know if you have it back east, but Tahitian vanilla, and it's kind of like French vanilla,
Mm.
and it's the best ice cream we ever have. So I can't buy it because I'll eat a whole like liter, right? But I think I would do burgers. Like I think I would go back home, back in Ontario. You have Harvey's still, right?
Yep. Don't you?
We have no Harvey's in BC.
Oh,
As a kid in Toronto, I remember going to the first Harvey's. It was downtown Vancouver.
yeah.
We were King and Jameson, so wherever it was down there. And I remember going there, and you could smell them like on the grill, cooking it.
Yeah.
So I can still smell it as we're talking. But
It's
anyways, so
funny.
people can put their, we want to get to know you a little bit more. So you can put that if you want.
Yeah, I love that idea. Very good. Can I ask you my questions then?
Why not?
Time? Okay, they'll be quick. Chess or checkers?
Chess.
Hmm. Are you good?
My son beats me in like 10 moves, so I'm not as good as I think I used to be.
Oh, I love it. I haven't played for a while, but if I was with you, I would bring it, I would check it out again. Okay.
Yeah.
Pirates or ninjas?
Pirates.
Pirates. Okay, very good. I'm torn on that. I could go either way. And last one, soft or hard tacos?
Soft.
Oh, really? I'm hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We can eat tacos together. We'll get the mix kit. We'll be fine.
We do what I do with the hard is I'll do like a taco salad, and you can use nacho chips, but I'll just crumple them. But
Yep.
we'll do a Mexican night next time we're together,
Okay.
and enchiladas,
Mm.
maybe chimichangas. Like I know how to cook all that stuff, so we'll do. And my son, who's his girlfriend or friend, that's a girl, but girlfriend.
Okay.
And my son just turned 18 on the weekend, so it was awesome.
Excellent.
Her dad is from Mexico, so he knows authentic Mexican food. He doesn't know Tex-Mex. He doesn't know like,
Okay.
and so I'm waiting to eat a meal from him one day.
Ooh, I love it. Have you ever done a walking taco where you get a little bag of Doritos or barbecue Fritos as well? You can do, or plain, but why? Okay, so you get like the little bags, and then you crunch them up, put all your taco, like your beef and all your toppings in there. Then you shake it up, and you can walk around and eat it.
So you know what? I've never heard of that. It sounds like
Amazing.
street food, which
Yeah.
it is. You
Yeah.
watch the Food Channel?
Do I
No,
watch what?
the Food Channel.
Some stuff that I see on my Roku TV, but not, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. My son says I look like Guy Ferrari, who does that. He
Oh.
goes around to all the street food stuff.
I know who
But
that is.
yeah, I got to be a little bit whiter or gray or whatever. But yeah, so put that up. So just so I know, and I just don't want to share that. Put that up. Put it up, and I'm going to try it. I'm going to see if my son will try it.
Yep.
But you put your cheese, and then you just eat it by the hand, right?
Yeah. Yep. You eat it by the
I love
hand.
it.
So when I used to do hi Wendy. when I used to do, I used to host like game shows at a local pub in town. I know Ronnie and some other people that come, um, Florence, they used to come to my stuff. And that's one of the things that we used to do there was the walking tacos. It was just so easy. And you'd have those little chips behind the bar. They're perfect size and they're great for the little people too. Like
Love
super
it.
convenient, right?
So what we'll do is we'll get into our topic. So we're not
Yeah,
going. We like
do that.
you get to know us, like we're real people, right? So here's the thing, and we won't mention names because Michelle already busted me. We agreed on her busting me, by the way. So I do have one of my sisters in the chat. Lovely sister. Good
Finally,
to
thank you for
yeah,
stepping
but
up, Wendy.
yeah, but the joke is, Wendy, is that a while ago we were doing something, and I saw what I thought was our sister Tammy in the chat. I'll
With
tell
one
you
of
of our
her
first
old
point.
last names.
Yeah, her old last name before this last name, so you'll get it. So there was a friend of Michelle's who's got the same name that was here, and I go, "Oh, my sister's here," and I didn't say the name, which was great. Else I look even stupider. But I'm like, "Hey, my sister's here," and I'm all like excited, and I'm like making reference to her. And then after we finished, Michelle goes, "That wasn't our sister. That was like." So it was pretty awesome.
It
So
was funny. So thank you, Wendy, for being here,
yeah.
representing. And thank
Anyway,
you
so
for keeping the same last name so we know who you are.
yeah, there you go. I was stuck with mine. So, but so let's do this. So, what you want to post that thing now?
I already did.
Just now?
Yeah, right. Like as we
You're
were starting, it's already
we
up
are like we are like twinsies. So,
there, Harry.
anyways, we talked about before last week have me being on holidays, but Michelle and I were just talking about. Michelle thought, hey, let's talk about triggers
Mhm.
and what are the things that trigger us. Um, you know, and how do we like walk through that, right? So why don't you start with that before we go into some stuff that I was sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's interesting. What made me think of it was a little video that I shared on the page. Excuse me. And it was a lady talking about, and they're called the Beavers. It's a great family to follow. Just a little background. The daughter, so they're everybody's an adult. The daughter crochets like tank tops, and the parents are the models, even the dad. So funny. And so they have a big following now. They do a lot of fun stuff, such as going to Value Village and buying Christmas gifts for each other. It's pretty funny. Anyways, she does this little clip of she went somewhere, she went to the Women's March, and somebody said something to her that would normally trigger her. And she realized that she's evolved where she didn't let it ruin her day. And in
Love it.
her comment, she owns the fact that when you're triggered, that's on you. We can't expect other people to change for us, even though we might want to change the people we're surrounding ourselves with or the environment. And I just thought, you know what? That's such a real thing. And these days, it's so easy, and we're all human beings. Let's just get that right out on the table. It's so easy to see something on social media and it just makes you go from 0 to 100, right? Whether you're going to verbally respond, but giving, like, when you're triggered in that moment, you're giving that person the power. It's not a lot different than when I was saying about being a waitress having a grumpy customer. Why am I going to let that person, just because they were a, why am I going to let them take over my whole day, and then that trickle down effect? Because then I'm going to be the jerk waitress because I'm all pissed off about some guy that doesn't even know my name. So this is a great way, and I know we've talked many times about taking your power back. You need to be able to realize, hey, I saw that politician's face again, and it just really irks me. And it's a great lesson for everybody is it's okay to scroll past things and not comment, right? I've been
Yeah.
working on that myself personally. So that's what initiated me thinking it would be a great topic, because every one of us, we have something, and it could be something like I just mentioned, like that, but it could also be after I told you that, like, my dad drowned, I struggle watching different things with water and people being trapped in water. That's on
Yep.
me. I can't write a letter to the movie industry and be like, it triggers me. I can't handle it. No more of these movies. I have to figure out,
Yep.
how I'm going to deal with that. So that's what got me thinking about it and thinking that we could all use those skills.
And you know what's interesting? It's yeah, the life's not fair. Life's
Yeah.
got we can't control life. Some of us, when you mentioned having a tinfoil hat, some people think
Yeah.
when they have a tinfoil hat they can't. But we there's that old saying, bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. Just the way it is. It's the randomness of life, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that we'll do is, and if you're wondering what me and Michelle are doing, so I've got my phone here, and to this side of me, I'm not watching the hockey game. The hockey game is that way, so I can see it over Michelle's head. Just so I'm being honest, transparent. But over here, we're watching some of the questions and stuff like that too, right? But here, let me do a little exercise. I did this before, right? So triggering doesn't always have to be negative, right? So
Right.
right now,
Yeah.
if you close your eyes, all of us, and just keep our eyes closed and um, think about a memory as a kid of like one of the funnest foods you ate. So just think about that. So what comes to mind, Michelle?
Nothing. Funnest food. Funnest food.
As a kid, eating food, a hot dog, French fries, not
Bridge
salad. No.
fries. Okay, I would say bridge fries. They're
Okay.
Sarnia related. We went for fries, didn't we? I know we went under the bridge. Did you have Sarnia's famous fries?
Under the bridge sounds like we're trolls, but didn't believe that alone.
My
Um,
people know.
but
Wendy
no,
will
we did.
know.
You came to the hotel that I was at when I was going across the country. But here's the other thing: like if triggering, like positive triggering, passionate triggering,
Yeah.
right? We could sit there. So my sister, it's a real sister this time, it's not a fake sister, is on. So last time, nobody knows what sister, but last time when I went across the country, we binge watched, me and her husband, we binge watched, Squid Games, the first
Oh,
one.
did you? Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny because I can mention that some people, well, that's just dumb. But it's interesting, talk about triggering. It could be a food, it could be music. Like, what's your favorite band? Oh, I love Led Zeppelin, whatever we love, right? I love hippie music, right?
Yeah.
You talked about crochet, and your crochet doesn't get me excited, but you're like, hey, they're crocheting. I thought, and I knew that would be something that you would like. So,
Sure.
so there's these things that we talk about a movie. Go, oh, you got to watch this movie. It's so good.
Yeah.
You got to eat this meal. It's so good. So it's interesting the way our brain works
Yeah.
out of an experience.
Right.
The same thing goes with um, the way we process difficulties. And as children, if we have bad experiences, we don't have we haven't our brain hasn't been developed enough to deal with it. So we we'll deal with something different as a kid, and that's a whole different topic. But when we get older, because we didn't learn how to deal with triggering experiences. An example, dad comes home drunk and he's violent or loud or whatever. Like just using example, right?
Yep.
Um, you know, go to school. There's a mean teacher, and you kind of try to block. You got to go there. Maybe you skip school, right?
Yep.
So how we learn sometimes how we learn to deal with things that trigger us, awareness, and Michelle put a sheet on there for everybody, but part of it's awareness. It's probably the biggest thing to realize that it's actually okay to process stuff. Me and Michelle talk about like why we do this group, mental wellness. We all can learn from each other. If we, I'm whatever. I hope I don't offend anybody. We usually all have something to work through. We can have good seasons,
Oh, absolutely.
but I have some friends that think they're just rock stars and nothing, right? But we all have stuff to work through. So on that sheet, if we could quickly look at it, and you intervene whenever you want, Michelle.
Yeah, do you want me to
And
actually pull it up on the screen? Would that be easier?
I printed it because I kill trees, but you pull it up for you and everybody else
Okay. Everybody.
because you're cool. You're techie. I'm not.
There we go. Here's the sheet.
Yeah. See, and I'm too old to see that. But anyways, um, so the thing on there talks about what's triggering things that can happen, and there's words or phrases. I had a friend who actually committed suicide a couple of years ago, and I dealt with him in a recovery center. A young guy from Toronto, actually, a Portuguese young man, really nice guy, but he grew up with his mom especially saying, "You're worthless. You're
Yeah.
good for nothing."
Yeah.
So there wasn't any other type of violence, but this was triggering him. And even though he would be good for a while, this voice he would hear. And so whenever he kind of messed up a bit, he felt like he fell down 100 rungs on a ladder. And he just learning from a young man to until he took his life, he just couldn't overcome that. And that's a lot of reasons when we become not users. I have no issues with people like having social, stuff, whatever we do, drinking or smoking, whatever. But when we're medicating to not deal with stuff, that's a whole different world, right?
That's right.
So there's memories, past experiences, or interactions with specific people. There was a study that was done 50 years ago where a man would come home, and every time he came home, he would yell at the dog, yell at the dog, yell at the dog. And so then he would come home and he wouldn't have to yell at the dog, but the dog would
Yep.
cringe, right? We talked about cows in the field, electric fence. And after a while, you didn't have to have the electricity, or the cows wouldn't go near it. So we become programmed, right?
Yep.
Stressful situations. My wife cannot watch anything violent unless it's like Pirates of Caribbean. But she like if I watch her when she's doing it, she's actually she's having a physical reaction.
Right. Right.
And we've seen that. Fears and phobias. Michelle talked about fear of water, stuff like that. Teresa's the same way. Michelle, she her greatest fear would be to drown. Like that would be the worst of the worst, right?
Yep.
Rejection, betrayal, and unjust treatment, challenged beliefs, helplessness, lost control, feelings of being excluded, ignored, disapproval, and criticism. And the last one's really interesting because in Michelle mentioned about the waitressing is if we, so I got a runny nose, guys. I think it's allergy season out here now. But there's some of us that, not that we become mean and disconnected, but we develop a thick skin. So there's things that where, for me, I dealt with a lot of rejection. And I've just learned, even though the triggers of that can come up, and that's another whole show, but I'm not triggered by that. I'm in the sales industry. I get people saying no all the time. I'm not an aggressive guy. I'm pretty jovial, get along, but I don't take it personally, which you mentioned earlier, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. I think that's, accepting the people where they are and realizing, and I know we talked about this before. I know it feels like a stretch sometimes, but if you just acknowledge they're doing the best they can in this moment, that's where some compassion can come in, right?
Yeah, and we want to. It's it's hard. In the world that we live in, we have compassion is a real. It's a real life currency, and then we're there to help people through dealing with physical struggles and wrestles and mental and all the stuff, right? And that was one of the reasons I got into counseling, because through my own experiences. And I think I've said this at the beginning when we started doing this. I don't have the time, and maybe I'm lying to myself. I can own that. I'm 63 this year. I don't want to go spend 4 or 5 years in school, university, to get a bachelor's degree. I don't think I don't need a paper to help people, and I don't need that so I can charge people $250 an hour.
That's right.
That I'm like Michelle, where I'm very comfortable in this niche that I'm working with. I'm trying to help the people that can't afford 250, right?
That's right.
But the guys that I work with, it's the long game. It's not like, hey, get your crap together, because that becomes another trigger, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But or can, right? But it's really going, okay, what did you learn? Like, what do you think? I would tell people, say somebody's trying to quit smoking, right? And I learned this the hard way. I used to smoke like 2 packs a day a long time ago. Export a plain, not unfiltered, disgusting. And but after so many years of different things going on, I remember with working through guys working through addiction, mostly hardcore drugs and stuff, I'd say, just quit the next one. Don't get, it's that whole thing about, I don't know who made the saying, stupid saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So I don't know who came up with eating an elephant. Never heard about eating an elephant. It's a saying, look it up. But you can't, we don't know what'll happen tomorrow, but all of a sudden I feel whatever's going on triggered. I just want to like give up. Whatever these things are, you just got to get through the next minute,
Yeah.
next 2 minutes, next 5 minutes,
That's right.
and support, like allowing. Again, my experience is a lot of people know how to manage through their emotional triggers, and so part of it is them becoming self-aware of that,
Yeah.
and they have like the dog thing. Did you ever deal with? I don't know if it was you dealt with uh, rescue animals. What are they called? Rescue dogs and that. I can't remember. Dogs that have been abused in homes. If anybody knows what it's called, put it in the chat. Um, but you get a dog. It's mostly dogs that have been abused in a home, and they rescue them or whatever animals, and they're put in the home, and it takes a long time for that dog to trust
Oh,
the next owner.
yeah.
Takes time, right? So that's one of the things I feel with like all of these things that we put up there is um, there's so many different things that can trigger us. I didn't understand this until later in life. I was very reactionary, right?
Hmm.
So I was very, this pissed me off. This made me sink in. This made me want to do ABC, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so your thoughts?
So it's interesting as you say that because it's so easy. Are we done sharing? Can I unshare? Can I
Yeah,
see?
you can understand. People
Okay.
can find it on there.
Yeah, it's on the page. So it's much easier to just ride with that negative emotion and blame your crappy day on somebody else that doesn't even remember your name than be accountable for the emotions. And I think now in that article, it does say, 3 things to help you deal: awareness, roots, and curiosity. And I think that's the thing. A lot of times when you just stop and really think about it and think, okay, this is how I feel. My heart's racing. I feel those emotions. What are the emotions? Where's that coming from? What, and with identification, I feel like you're halfway there to change because you've realized, sort of like before when we talked about that think acronym, like the real question is like, is it true? Like when I see, different things, is it like, am I in that scenario? No. Or when somebody says something to me that really pushes my buttons, is the reality that I didn't get enough sleep last night and I'm tired? Or we've all had this scenario where I read a text or a Facebook thing way too fast and I'm already halfway through responding. And then I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not even what they said. There's that perspective thing, right? Again. So, in those moments, that's where you realize that you need to own it. And it's not that, somebody who's inappropriate, it's not that you're letting them off the hook, but you're just owning it and then moving on. Maybe don't go to that aisle anymore, or don't, never sit across from that person at a family event. Here's my tip for the day: if you're going to an event where somebody is very annoying and you're in close quarters, sit directly beside them because they like to project to the people across. You will be safe. Those are my wise words of the day. But we have more control than we think. So control your environment, baby steps into that scenario and see, just like that little video, which I'll comment on something so it goes back to the top. But same
Yeah,
thing, like just acknowledge it and be like, wow, I feel this way. I feel like, I want to chew that guy's face off. Why is that? How can I think differently? What actually was the interaction? Right? Because
yeah,
sometimes, yeah, we're not even responding appropriately. And then
yeah,
we over respond. And now we've created the scenario we were avoiding ourselves. Hmm.
yeah. We talked about self-sabotaging before. There's some really good, and by the way, everybody, I think we say this every time. There is Michelle shares on YouTube the videos of us
I
talking.
do.
We don't
Yes.
none of our none of our personal stuff or none of your personal stuff's on there. It's just a chance for those not in the group.
Yep.
But we talked about forgiveness and what that looks like. And so some of these tools, right? So one
Hmm.
of the most important tools, as Michelle said, for that, controlling your environment, part of it is how do we navigate? I'll use that word to towards wellness or health, right?
Right.
And we don't want to live in denial. We just don't want to close our eyes and pretend it's not there. That doesn't help. It'll still be there when you open your eyes
Maybe worse.
most of the time.
Yep.
But you you don't want to let it control you. I'll use for an example. One of the courses I took was on phobias. So cool. One of my favorite courses because I have phobias too. I don't know if anybody's been like this. When my son and when my daughter is 31 now, gonna be 32, when she was 4 or 5, and this may have happened when you were down here, Michelle, visiting. When Ethan was like 2 or 3, we were on the West Coast, so we were in White Rock on the ocean. My son is running down the wharf. It's big, long, fair amount of people,
Yep.
and there are railings on the side, and the gaps are like this, right? So he had worked really hard for him. I'm panicking, thinking he's going to fall into the water because
Yeah.
he didn't. So I had to deal with that, and we're all protective of our kids, but I'm like OCD with it, right?
Right.
But so I took this course on phobias, and I used this example with my daughter. My daughter hates spiders, hates them. My daughter has trained unintentionally her both of her daughters to
Yep.
hate spiders, screaming, freaking out, phoning me. I'm 12 hours away, right? Phoning me, Dad, there's a spider in the house. I don't know what to say. Give it a pet name. No, but
Put the
but one
phone
of the
down to it.
but one of the things I was telling her, she didn't help. But one of the courses I took on phobias, it used spiders, aquaphobia as an example, they were talking about an actual kind of session, and they showed somebody a picture of a spider, and they showed this
Oh,
picture.
that's right.
Person, peer back, right? And then said, okay, this is a picture. This is a piece of paper. This piece of paper can't hurt you.
Right.
So it's understanding this is you with water. I hate heights. I can still not like heights, which
Yep.
is fun, right? But I don't want to be controlled by it, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting to try to help people believe they have the power of um, to overcome, and some of it takes time. We're an instant society, right?
Hmm.
Give me my meds now. I want this fixed.
Yep.
Anything worthwhile, there's usually a struggle,
Yep.
and it takes time.
Yep. Exactly.
And and when we learn, like my thing is helping people to recover quicker instead of relapsing and binging for a month or 3 months and gone and family is the way they are. And I'm not encouraging them to binge, by the way, but I'll say, you know what? When because you know what they suffer with, Michelle? They suffer with some of their self identity. So they're already dealing with insecurity,
Hmm.
probably abandonment, and these are with all of these kind of triggering things. There's a sense of no self worth, or maybe, and they can hide that with narcissism. They can hide that with men, especially with very aggressive arrogance, right? But at the end of it, there's this thing about we don't want to look in the mirror. We don't want to see ourselves
Right.
because we don't see ourselves the way we are. And if we can't learn, I'm off base here a bit, but going back to triggering, if we all can't look in the mirror and go, you know what, this is who I am today.
Right. That's right.
And I need to accept me the way I am. And then if there's things that um, prevent me from goals, dreams, being healthy, whatever that looks like, could be look different, right? Then if we feel that we can, like, I think it's harder to get to the place you want to get to overcoming triggers, unless there's just a fair evaluation. I've shared here. I don't think my sister knows, but you guys are so funny. I'm listening to. They're so funny. My sister's hilarious. Love you, sister. I'm not saying your name in case it's the wrong sister. Um, anyways, I love you all. Anyways, but
Could be a couple
uh,
you don't know about. Who knows? Anyways.
yeah. So the thing is, it's like I've shared here. Like I've gone through a lot of health stuff. I feel healthier now at 63 than I did at 45. Cancer survivor, a whole bunch of trauma in my body, affect me mentally and all that. And so I had colon cancer, so I have an ostomy bag, and I have this. I'm not going to show you this huge hernia. This like I need to lose another 40 pounds. I'm already down 40, almost 50, and in order to have this big surgery to take care of the hernias. So when I look in the mirror, all I see is the hernia. I don't see everything else.
Mhm.
I see my flaws. Some people see that they financially struggle,
Yep.
or they lack confidence, or emotionally, mentally, anything, right? So even though I I want to go back there, like if I look in the mirror, that's what I see,
Yep.
and I see this big bulge when I'm going out in my gut, right?
Right.
And I have to remind myself, this is going back to managing emotional triggers. I have to remind myself that doesn't define me. I'm in outside sales. I think when I walk in, that's the first thing people see. It's like a big zit on your nose, right? And we usually have, or you've dealt with this too, like the people you help. It's we 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 have a distorted self awareness usually
Right.
to
Yeah.
some degree.
Yeah.
And when we can go, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm getting older, or we're getting me, and Michelle are getting older. Our other sisters are getting older. But when we go,
No, we're not.
I'm getting older.
Yes.
I am the senior in the family.
Correct.
But that doesn't have to define me on like who I am. We shared last little bit, and I'll let Michelle jump in here because I'm stealing the words. I did my 10,000 words, but we
Okay.
shared last time 2 weeks ago about movies, and I shared about The Van. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's about this elderly woman that lives in her van. The story is phenomenal. We talked about Into the Wild, about a man
Yes. Right.
who's privileged, and his dad wants him to go to Cambridge or wherever back east, and he basically I think he gives his money away, his school money his dad gave to Oxford, like a charity.
Mhm.
And it's his journey, it's his kind of journey, his journey. And I don't want to ruin the end of the book or the movie, so watch it. I won't say the ending. And then there's The Way, where another phenomenal movie where this father loses his son. His son's on the first day of a walk in Portugal, Spain, that my wife has walked. Some of this called The Way. And it's like these movies that aren't Marvel superhero, but they have a story too. But these movies that evoke something in us and grab us.
Yeah.
What was the one pay it forward? That little kid,
I love it. Love it. Yep.
right?
Yep. I love it. Very good. Very good. The way I think, it's a bit older, isn't it? That movie? I feel
It
like
is,
Teresa told me about it when I was there once, and then I watched it because he takes up the walk, right? Isn't that the way that goes?
and he meets the Canadian girl who smokes.
Yep.
So they're on a pilgrimage. It's the Pilgrim of St. John.
Yep.
So it's kind of a religious thing, but people don't take it for religious reasons. So the Dutch guy who's smoking the dope, which is hilarious, he's he's on it to lose weight for his brother's wedding. She doesn't know why she's on it, and Amelia Vestavan is going to finish this for his
Right.
son.
Right. That's right.
Great movie, right?
Great movie. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
one I would watch again.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
You're talking about managing triggers. what's some of your thoughts?
Well, so my first thought, so two different things came to mind as you were talking. Number one, if you don't deal with it, you're going to be stuck there forever. Like right, it's going to happen every time. It might get worse. It's just going to be a consistent in your life. And then it's really easy to get bitter and to hold on to that stuff and really redirect where it's coming from. The other thing it made me think of is the favorite. Sorry, I smelled something. So, so
Wasn't me. Wasn't me.
okay. Don't think I'm having a stroke. Okay, it's misery loves company. So, when we feed into all that stuff as well. So, going back to trolls on the internet or real human people that are trolls on the internet, whatever. And I know none of you are them, so I'm not hurting any feelings. But how it like, so you see that one picture or situation that triggers you, and then you make a comment, and then somebody else feeds from it, and then it just grows and grows and grows, and then it's never ending because that conversation is going to continue with the same or different people all the time. It almost makes me think of, when people are going through tough times and they like to drag their friends or family into those emotions, right? And so next thing you know, you're being triggered by something that wasn't even your experience. We tend to see a lot of that actually these days, right? With social justice warriors. And I'm not getting into all that. I'm just saying, so next thing you know, you're drawn into something. It's interesting when you see different like man on the street asking people questions, and it's interesting how uninformed people are, yet they're very passionate about different things. That's a prime example of, if you sat and dug deeper into legitimate sources, obviously, but you might find out that maybe you don't have such a strong stance or whatever, because emotions are so high when it comes to a lot of those things. It's unfortunate. And again, you're giving control away where it's something that doesn't even affect you. Like, I like to focus on the things I can control and the things in my area. I can't give the power to what's going on somewhere that's never going to overflow into my life ever. Right. So it's it's interesting.
Yeah, and we can't. I just shared a movie I just watched. So one of the biggest triggering thing in our country has got to do with the indigenous narrative, right? And I find I shared a movie on IMDb. It's on Netflix, I think, called For Love,
Okay.
and it's a great movie, but it's the indigenous narrative, but it's about helping how they're working to um, bring back their story that to their youth,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Young adult. And so for me, it can be I don't know, the word triggering is kind of weird because it feels like sometimes it feels like when you use it, it feels like you go into a turtle shell, like you go into,
Yep.
you know, whatever protective thing. And sometimes it triggers thoughts. And so for me, the like I'm incredibly thankful of where we're going in we're sometimes feel we're slow as a country. I still don't trust politicians.
Right.
When so you can send Michelle an email. No, send it to me. Um, I have a hard time with a country that sends for this comment. By the way, I have a hard time with a country that seems to. I don't know for sure. I have an assumption sends more money to other countries, but it's more important to be a globalist
Yep.
instead of helping people like have safe drinking water, help people with youth, with suicide, with
Yep.
all of this stuff, right?
Yep.
So I think that
Oh,
the this
100%.
idea of triggering is it's not always a triggering could be a not a productive. It can kind of be a necessity to get us to step 2 or 3.
Right.
Because now when Teresa and I went to Alberta, I think it was last summer, we took the kids to Edmonton to the Edmonton uh, history thing, but they had this brand new indigenous kind of about that area. We're becoming more aware, um, understanding, not going too deep into understanding colonization. Like if you're wired, like I'm an informational history wired guy, so I'm not saying everybody has to live in my brain, but like I understand more where I'm at now from where I've come from. Like I'm not talking mom and dad, I'm talking about my life experience, right? But
Right.
understanding colonization and what's happening over globally in the world, and I don't have to hate it, but I understand it. But so now it's like, so how do we become like Canada is such a great country outside of taxes. We have a brand new tax out in BC that nobody else has.
Yeah, I heard
We
you're
got
special.
the extra carbon tax, right? But in the thing of not being perfect, and this goes for ourselves as individuals, we can still be helpful to people. We can still help
Yeah,
people,
that's right.
and we have to learn not to be mature and wise and careful, but you don't have to be guarded, right? It's the picture of the dog again. You'll get a dog that's been abused, and that a dog can be aggressive
Yeah.
or cowering. They live in the either side of that.
Yeah.
You want to build confidence back to be able to go, okay, like so I watched this movie and it was beautiful, but I hate some of the sadness. I hate the residential school stories. I hate it. There's people I know, white people, by the way, saying, well, we've apologized. They should just get it over with. So guess what triggering for me wants to do? And I'm not violent, right? I want to understand my neighbor. I want to understand people that are different than for me. I don't want to judge them.
Right.
And and again, part of the goal, what we're doing is if we can all help each other become a bit more healthy ourselves, then our world around us becomes healthier.
Absolutely. Well, that's right. It's like when you get on the plane, you always put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Before the plane takes off, even just pull it down.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's right. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So I think, yeah, for everybody, like when you start to feel any of those emotions at all, really go into analyzing mode, research and development, right? And
Yeah.
think like, why am I holding on to that? What's going on? What's my next step? And maybe using that emotion recall that you started with about, a happy thought, a positive thing, a good experience. And we've all got great experiences, whether it's finding out you got that job, you got into college, you had the child, you had the grant, whatever that is. We've got so many happy things, but it's really easy for us to not prioritize them properly and look at all the negative things, right? And get that victim mentality instead of having a survivor mentality. That's really what we need to focus on and make sure that we're surviving, right? And we're getting through it. And you're right, it's pretty hard for a human being to live as long as I've lived, and which is really not that long, but to live as long as I've lived and not have some sort of trauma, right? Some sort of experiences that are going to leave, some emotional scars that you have to deal with. We've all got a different story, but we've all got a story just the same. So there's going to be something, right? That's going to just sort of set you off and just dealing with it. And again, it's not going to all happen one day, which leads me actually into my quote, which is quite fitting.
And I
So,
have a second quote after you.
oh, excellent. So, this is from John Dryden. We first make our habits, and then our habits make us. Bam.
That's good.
That's good.
And,
Good
and,
old
and
John.
and the thing I want to say too, before we let you guys go, thank you for sharing your time with us. We know it's important and it's valuable. Is what we're not saying is get your crap together. So please don't hear that.
Right.
We're we're a community. We're a team.
Oh,
We when somebody's down, we want to help each other. I can't even do that. Like my hand gets all crippled and stuff.
I'll do
But
it for
anyway,
both of us.
yeah, there we go. But we there's this isn't the saying. I'll read the saying in a second. You'll love the saying, but I don't know who quoted it. It's unknown, but it's a great saying. But we, when we learn to value ourselves, I think I think it's from a Buddhist thing, actually, as I think about it. But as we learn to value ourselves, this is the quote, by the way, then we'll only value others as much as we value ourselves. And that's not arrogance. It's about humility, right? So when we go and we talk about, like, if you're having a tough day, you're having a tough moment, usually you're not having a tough day, you're having tough moments, and you can conquer tough moments. Take a minute, close your eyes, focus on breathing, whatever you need to do, right? So here's the saying, Michelle, and I'll put it on the page.
Okay.
Give time to empty your mind. It will let you build new dreams. Tension is who you think you should be. Relaxation is who you are.
Ooh, I like that.
That's a high 10, right?
Woo woo, mic drop. Bam.
Pretty good, right?
That's very good. I like that.
The world is so fast. Expectations we put on ourselves and others, and and sometimes expectations are horrible. They will suck the life out of us.
Yes.
Become overwhelmed.
Yeah.
We'll become over anxious. We'll become fearful. And there's bad things in the world. We know that. We've always said that. And we need to grieve together and laugh together and all those things to do. But if we don't take time, quiet our brain, like, I'm a busy guy and you're busy, right?
Yeah.
This here is not work for me. This is it's the joy in our hearts. But even with this, even though it feels good, like selling coffee to me is pretty easy too, right? If I don't take time in my day, close my eyes, not when I'm driving, close my eyes, and just center, focus, just, okay, understand that there's this thing of air going into me that I didn't create. And this is how we become thankful, right?
Yeah.
The fact that I have life in me. Michelle said the first time how insanely wonderful we're made of. There's so many parts. This is insane. So, when we recenter, it really helps deal with, especially triggers. By the way, if you have trigger components happening, just turn the TV off and turn whatever you got to do and just take a minute by yourself. So I'm going to read the quote one more time before I share it.
Okay.
Give time to empty your mind. It will let you build new dreams. Tension is who you think you should be. Relaxation is who you are. Unknown.
Tom Paul.
No, I can't steal it. I'll get like
Paul Tom.
Oh, I went to school with a guy named Paul Thomas.
Did you?
And my name was Thomas Paul.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't funny. I skipped school and he got in trouble for a couple of years until he figured who I was.
That's sort of funny.
Well, he was on the football team and he was big and I was little. And we ended up being in the principal office at the same time. This is when I lived in Scarborough.
Oh my gosh.
6 years later, I went to the front desk and they go, okay, who are you? And I said, I'm Thomas Paul. And I could feel him look behind me. I was like 14. And he looked at me and I thought, oh, he's going to kill me. He was big. He was a big football dude.
Yeah.
And he kept getting called down to the office for skipping. It was me.
Yeah.
So I saw him after school later. I don't know how. I was fearful. Yeah. I was triggered.
Yeah. Oh, see.
And you know what? I didn't know him. The school I went to in Scarborough was back then 1,000 people.
I'm sure.
And you know what? I didn't know him. So I had this opinion in my mind. Where we lived in Scarborough, there was a lot of it was kind of gang. So it was some tough stuff, right? I thought he was going to like hurt me. And he saw me after school once. He goes, "That's the funniest thing ever."
Oh, good.
He goes, "I didn't know who was doing it." So I was fearful. So he's going, I thought this guy's going to beat me up.
Yeah.
Put me in a locker, set the locker on fire. And he said, and I skipped a lot, just telling you. I was an honor student, but I skipped a lot. And he's going, he goes, I was freaking out. Why am I going to the office? Because I knew I was in class, like the teacher knew. Yeah, and so Roll call, Paul Thomas, Thomas Paul.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. So
So
funny. I love it.
anyways, everybody,
What a
we
great
took
way
it.
to end today. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And don't forget, you are a walking miracle. Keep that in mind. There's amazing things ahead for you. And we'd love to hear about them. Feel free to share. We're going to put those questions on the page. Tom's going to put that phenomenal quote on the page. And sometime between now and next week, we're going to come up with our next topic. If you have a suggestion, please make sure that you share it. And like Tom mentioned, we are sharing them also on YouTube. Nobody sees your name or anything, they just see the screen. But it's great for reflection later. It's also great because we have quite a few people that aren't on Facebook. So it's great for them to be able to tune in as well. So next week, we'll see you right here. Tom, anything else?
Can you share on just because it'll help me? Like I know the YouTube page, but can you share the link on our page
Yeah,
to the YouTube, and then people
absolutely.
can copy and paste it and share it with their friends or whatever they want to do.
Absolutely. That's right.
Okay,
Sure. All right.
everybody, thank you.
Bye.
While we're
Bye,
here, while we're here,
Wendy.
see you
All right.
guys. Bye.